Hey everybody, Jay Young here, and I think the episode number is this week. Let me look. It's 184, 5. Oh, Jordan, I just can't keep up with them all. I mean, it's just a good time and good pleasure here. Let me see. We are on 185. 185 today, and we have a great lineup. We're going to do some extraordinary things today. Jordan, thanks for being here today. Appreciate you. I love that jacket. That is bright. It is Halloween.
It's bright.
Yeah.
Hey, we're coming up on Halloween. I had to get into the attire for some bright colors.
You're definitely into it. We love that. Great.
It's not cold yet, but we're trying to will it into happening, I think.
There you go. I was in Houston this past weekend, and I'll tell you, the humidity's just a little bit down there. You have a little bit of humidity down there. Wow. No, but it was great. What a great city, though. Really a nice city. I mean, I was in the good parts.
Thank you.
I was in the good parts of
Which
Houston.
part?
I was near Rice University, the medical center.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. And I drove.
Yeah, that's definitely the best.
Stomping grounds. I used to live there, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's where I when I moved from Brownsville after I was working with Space Channel, I moved to the Med District, and honestly, gorgeous, right by Herman Park area. That's a very pretty place to be.
Yeah, and we have Kelly Duncan, and we have Rachel Griffith. So, hello to you guys. I appreciate you coming on in. Let's we'll talk about Houston a little bit. But you know what? I drove all the way up to Cypress to play in a golf tournament. No, just to play golf with some of the volleyball dads on Saturday morning. And I thought for a second that when I was driving up there, that people that they did not drive slow in the fast lane, and I really appreciate that. And I thought, man, Houston is an incredible place. But then when I was coming back, that was all BS. They drive slow in the fast lane, even in Houston. It pissed me off, so I'm not moving to Houston just because of that. That's one thing that just drives me crazy. Is people drive slow in the fast lane.
It's interesting, to see how Houston has. It's changed just even from the 3 years that I've lived here. One of the biggest changes is that Chevron's actually they're restructuring, as are many of the oil and gas companies, and they're bringing a lot of people who were out of state back into state, and a lot of those people are coming back to Houston. So I just imagine that the Houston traffic is going to continue to get quite busy.
Oh yeah. It went standstill. I was coming back about. We played at 9 o'clock, so I got back about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was a standstill. Middle of Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No traffic. I mean, the traffic was stopped. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on with here? But anyway, great place, great sushi restaurant that we went to. I don't know if I could remember what it was, I would definitely tell you, but I forgot. But it was really and very affordable. My wife was ordering things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so expensive. But it's only like $200 for the both of us, and
that's not bad at all.
Which is great sushi, especially when my wife, starts ordering. I'm like, I figured that last order was $200, much less the 4, 5, or 6 other things that we had. Oh, but anyway, we're going to talk today. We're going to go over. Let me kind of go over the agenda real quick. We're going to go over the reflection from the Charlie Kirk Memorial yesterday. An incredible service. Man, that was so awesome. We're going to have some oil and gas highlights. We've got Kelly Duncan here to talk about the oil and gas highlights. We're going to have we have Rachel Griffith, who's the SVP with King. She's been on some of the stuff with us before. We're going to have her. We're going to talk a little bit about her today while she's here. No, we're not going to talk about her while she's not here. We're going to talk about her while she's here.
For that, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. I love you, Rachel. And we're just going to have a good time and talk about, we're going to do the 5 things, Jay's 5 things, word of the week, the Bible verse of the week. What are you reading, watching, and listening to? We're going to do that at the end. So it's just kind of the agenda for the day. So if you guys don't mind, let's get started. And we'll just talk about that Charlie Kirk. Did anybody watch the Charlie Kirk Memorial yesterday? Did y'all watch that?
Watch some of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I couldn't turn it off. I mean, it was incredible. And all the people that came in that just talked. So, I mean, first it was like 60,000 people. It was in Phoenix, Arizona, or I guess it was in Glensdale. Is it Glensdale? Is that what anyway, outside Phoenix, where the Phoenix Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals play, and 60,000 people. They were going to increase it, which they could have, but they said there was over 100,000 people outside trying to get in that didn't have a ticket, and of course security was crazy because
really tight.
Yeah, Donald Trump was there, President Trump was there, a lot of people were there, so it was incredible amount of people. But the amount of people that came out for that, just think about it for a second. I mean, here's a guy 11 days ago, well, I guess 12 days ago now, gets killed, assassinated, for speaking his mind about freedom, and he is, 11 days later, I guess, was yesterday. All the people that lined up to come see, 31 years old, what an incredible voice he had. And what great things that he did for college campuses. And this is my take on it, and you guys might have a different source. If you do, let me know. But, Charlie Kirk met someone while he was in college, and I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was Jim something. But this guy said, hey, you know what? We need a lot more voice in college campuses, high school and college campuses. Here's some money. Go do it. And so he spent 320 days a year on the road preaching about Turning Point. So he turned Turning Point into a huge platform. They're now in like 900 college campuses around the country. They're growing in high schools, all because this guy, thought we don't need to forget about the people. What Donald Trump Jr. said yesterday, he said, who do you call that? Donnie Jr., Donnie, whatever. But anyway, I don't know what you call him. But Donald Trump Jr. said yesterday, he said when Charlie started talking to him about it, and he was like, no, let's just wait for him to start paying taxes, and then we'll talk to him. But Charlie Kirk was like, no, let's get them earlier. Let's get them today. Let's get them early so we can spread the word. And it was kind of like it's kind of like very political, but it was also very Christian, speeches yesterday, and it was an incredible talk. Anybody want to say anything about it? Jordan, you want to say anything about it, or Rachel?
Yeah, I think when we're looking at his stance, when we stop having conversations, even with others that have viewpoints that are not the same as ours, that's when hate really has a breeding ground. So offering an opportunity to have conversations, even if you don't directly agree with the person that you're talking to, it's so important. And I think the other part of that importance is to remember to have grace for the other person, and to treat them with love, because how they react to what you're saying is a reflection of them, and how you hold yourself is a reflection of you. And within those conversations, allowing for them to feel the opportunity to be heard. And also something that really resonated with me, and I think this is like a really old clip of him that I saw the other day, because obviously it's circulating through all social media platforms, was that person that has that alternative viewpoint to yours, they may truly believe that their approach or their thought is for the betterment of the country. So there, truth is truth, but like whenever you're looking at your perspective of a stance, whether that's political or religious, everybody has their own stance, and just to remember that to have compassion and grace for the other person is really, really important. And I think he did such a good job of allowing for the opportunity to have conversations, even though sometimes there were smirks and there were little jabs and things like that. But it was an opportunity to share a dialogue. And I think that that's really where that importance comes from. And I hope that through this, there's not a suppression of free speech still, but rather we have those grounds to have open dialogue and for people to share their vantage point, whether or not people agree with everything that they're saying.
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, I mean, to be in a wide open space like that and just, I mean, who would have
be very
thought?
vulnerable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's vulnerable,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all of it, whether it's him sharing his stance or being in an open space, like you're allowing vulnerability, and that's allowing conversations and allowing movement one way or the other to have a dialogue and to have the opportunity to have some sort of peace,
Mhm.
whatever that may look like. And it's so, so important. Which
Right.
I know that we had talked a little bit off air about Jimmy Kimmel. And while I don't agree with Jimmy Kimmel, I do think that when we silence people, whether they say things in poor taste or not, I feel like that's where we get into a very tricky area of what our country really stands for, and whether or
Yeah.
not we agree with that person or not, that is their viewpoint. But to allow them to have that stage and that platform, while I do admit that I think that it was in poor taste, it would be not so in alignment with our country's values to silence people with alternative viewpoints and opinions and
Yeah.
expressing those.
Freedom of speech. That's what it's all about. Give people freedom of speech. If you don't like it, turn around, walk the other way. I know it's hard to do. It's definitely
It
hard to
is.
do. Rachel, you got anything to say about this or?
Yeah, well, I mean, our family was definitely, affected by the loss of Charlie Kirk. I think that Charlie played in our home almost daily for at least 3 years,
Wow.
and
Wow.
raising three teenagers. He was just on constantly. My children loved to listen to him, and he deeply impacted and shaped their lives. And as a parent, you have your views, your values, and you teach them and train them up. But it's always so beneficial when someone else comes along to really speak into their life and really stand for the light of the gospel, and really stand for the values that Christ shared, and do it in a way that has so much boldness and passion, and is so articulated, but also welcomes a conversation. And Charlie was a great example of not casting people away, but really trying to talk with them. He would talk with anybody that stepped up to that microphone, and that was such an amazing thing to see. And just the grace that God had on his life was incredibly powerful, and he deeply touched an entire generation. And personally, as a Christian, I just know that what the enemy meant for evil, that what we saw yesterday at his memorial service, and what we're continuing to see, is God using this. Not that God wanted this, but God being able to use this for his glory. And I believe to continue to embolden my children and others out there. And so I think what we're seeing is just a continued spark of saying, we're not going to be quiet, and we're not going to back down from what we believe in, but we're going to continue to press forward and share what the Lord has put in our heart, and share what we believe, and not be ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. And I mean, one of the best social media quotes that I heard throughout this whole thing was, Christians don't die, they just change addresses. So Christians don't die, they just change address. I mean, that was just the best quote. I sent it to all my friends. I was thinking about, just because you're a Christian, if you are a Christian and you do die, which everybody's going to die, then you don't mold up and go that way, and that's it. Yes, you leave this earth, but you also go to heaven, which is a better place, and obviously it's a better place, and it's a grander place to go than this. Kelly, you got anything you want to talk about? I know I brought you in for oil and gas today, and I don't mean to get you on. I don't know if you watched it or have an opinion about it.
Yeah, it's definitely brought people together and separated people the last few weeks for sure. So
yeah,
his message is being carried on stronger than ever for sure. Like you said this morning, Jay, his wife did an excellent job yesterday. She was pretty impressive with her speaking ability.
Yeah, man, she was. I mean, that was incredible. And I'm going to use her Bible verse for our Bible verse of the days. But I know Rachel. I mean, she was on mission trip. We're going to find out more about that. So her religion here pretty soon. And I did not know that your kids watch Charlie Kirk every day or Turning Point every day. That is, what do they think about it? What is their thoughts?
Oh, they were devastated. They were devastated, but yet, we've always talked to them about persecution comes for the gospel. That's one thing you're promised about being a Christian is that if you live godly, you will suffer persecution. But yet what happens when there is that persecution is that there is usually a fire that is ignited from it. And that's what we saw in the early church, when the apostles were persecuted. It didn't stop the gospel, it actually propelled it. And my children, they know that and they understand that. And as devastating as it was, because there would be times where my daughter, like, it would just be on Charlie Kirk's greatest moments and it would just be playing and playing and finally be like, hey, Maury, you want to, like, let's just pause for a minute because it would, be hours. And so he touched their lives greatly, and I'm forever thankful for that. But in the same sense, it tells us all, hey, life is short, and we're not promised all these things. We're promised the moment right now, and it takes account of all of us in our heart. What has God called us to do? What has God set us here to do? And Charlie Kirk lived that every single day with passion. He knew what he was called to do, and he did it with boldness and abandonment, and it cost him his life. But we're seeing something incredibly amazing come out of him counting the cost. He counted the cost, and he said, you know what, Lord, you're worth it. I'll do it.
Yeah, yeah. I love his tagline at the end of every episode. He says, buckle up. Here we go. Here we go. So, man, he was ready. He grew that organization like no tomorrow, and did an incredible job. So that was, I can't say enough good things. I know they were trying to get him to come to Prestonwood at the end of this month for our Worldview Biblical Conference, and so I know a lot of people knew him a lot better than I did. And I'd love to get to have known him. I'd love to have him on the Jay Young Show. Man, that would be great for him to be here. That would be awesome. And I love how strong he feels about something and doesn't go either way. It's like he knows it, very strong, and goes at it 100%. And he just, lives life to the fullest. Loves his wife, obviously, his kids, and he's definitely going to be missed. So, I love what Erica, his wife, talked about him and said all the great things about him, and then, and at the end, she forgave the guy that shot. I can't. That is so hard to believe, and I know Jesus Christ did the same thing with all the people that nailed him to the cross, forgave them, and here Erica is forgiving the guy that shot her husband 11 days ago. It's just amazing. That is just. I didn't see that coming at all. I did not see it. My wife did. Michelle was like, I knew it. I was like, I did not see that coming at all. And I don't know. It's like President Trump said. He goes, I may forgive him, but I want to make sure he's in the ground first after I put a gun to his head. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, that's the way Kelly and I think. But man, that's tough. But anyway, it's very tough. But I tell you, she's a wonderful woman. I can't wait to see what she's going to do with Turning Point. They've got an incredible platform already, and I've heard there's like 60,000 requests in over the last 10 or 11 days, for more information and for donations, and you can imagine how it is. But it's an incredible platform, and that Charlie built, and it's awesome. So thank you for that. I appreciate you guys coming in on that. I did not want to spend the whole entire show on that, but I could talk about it for a lot longer, and I want to learn more about it and learn more about Turning Point and learn more about what I can do to help. How can I help? What can I do to be a better person, better dad, a better husband, and what can I do to help the company, our investors, partners? What else can I do to help them and just be here for them, and what God wanted me to do. What does God want me to do? And that's what I talk about the majority of the time. It's not what would Jesus do. It's what does God want me to do? That's what drives me, and that's what helps me get through. Okay. Anyway, that's it for there. Let's talk about. Let's go into some oil and gas highlights. Kelly Duncan has been. It's been great for us. He's He drills our wells for us. When I say, hey, Kelly, we need some wells drilled, he takes care of everything from the drill side to the completion side and the rigs. If you think about building a house for a second, if you think about building a house, because I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, yeah, it only takes one guy to drill a well. And I'm like, dude, I don't know where you get your information from, but you're reading some elementary school stuff. I don't know. But it's like building a house. You have one person that knows how to put on, garage doors. You have one person that knows air conditioning, heating. I mean, there's painting.
Well, you definitely don't want the plumber working on the electricity. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. You don't want coming and going.
Like...
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to electrocute yourself very, very fast. And that's the same thing with drilling an oil and gas well. Drilling or completions. I mean, we'll have 20-something companies on location next week and 60 to 80 people next week on location. That's a lot of people. And Kelly, and you can't just go, oh, wait a minute, we're running out of paint. Let's go to the nearest store 300 miles away while everybody's sitting here at $100,000 a day or something. We got to be on target. So Kelly is.
In fact, that's what I spent all day to do today, Jay. Building redundancy. That's pre-planning and redundancy has been the goal this week so far.
Yeah,
so
and you notice
places to stage equipment, finding places to have backup plans and backup plans on backup plans. So that's what I'm working on in this last phase. It's a backup plan phase now. So
yeah, good, and that's why I have Kelly on the show this week instead of next week, because next week
won't be here next week.
Yeah, and even if he's got to focus, and I've never seen a more focused individual. I'll run into him in the kitchen trying to get muffins or something, and Kelly just doesn't even talk, doesn't even anything. He just gets it, goes, and it's like, hey Kelly, how you doing this morning? And he doesn't even say anything. He's like, I'm focused. I don't need to talk. I got things in my mind. So Kelly is
in the zone.
He's definitely in the zone. He's going to take care of it next week. Look forward to that. We'll hear more about that as we do perforate. Probably we'll perforate Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Probably.
Yeah, we'll be hopefully by the Monday night next week. We'll be ready to roll. So.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll be perforating, and then we'll be going down. We'll perforate the toe, the last 200 feet, or the end. The very end of the 200 feet. It's about a 15,000 foot vertical horizontal. It's about maybe 15,000. I don't know. 9 down,
6 out. Yes, sir.
Yeah, all the way out. So what we'll do is we'll take the last 200 feet of that horizontal lateral. How long is the lateral on this one?
Just under 6,000 feet.
Yeah, 6,000 feet. So it's a little over a mile. Well, about a mile and a quarter, mile and a fifth or so. And we're going to go out, and what Kelly does is we'll go out all the way to the very end of the 15,000 feet for the last 200 feet, because it's straight, it's in the zone, and he'll perforate the pipe, the last 200 feet of the pipe. He'll put holes in it, right? There will be 8 shots per foot, 8 shots per foot for 200 feet. And there's going to be all these holes.
Like that.
Yeah. There's your hole right there. That's going to be a hole perforation in the pipe. There will be probably on 200 feet, 8 shots per foot. That's about 1,600 holes.
36 holes in that 200 feet.
Yeah. Okay. 36. What now?
Yeah.
How many?
9 times 4. 32 holes. Yes, sir. 36 holes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
36 holes per foot?
In that 200 feet.
No, there'll be more than 36 holes in that 200 feet. 8 shots per foot. I thought it was like 8 shots per foot, 9 shots.
We don't shoot it continuous, Jay. Okay. It's all spaced out.
Okay. So you have all these holes in the pipe. And then what you'll do is, or what Kelly will do, is he will send water down the hole. He'll send water down the hole to go into those holes, and then water will go into the holes and it'll go out into the formation. And it's like it's hard rock. And so what he has to do is he has to push against that and break open that rock, just like a concrete, or just like a
jackhammer.
Yeah.
Like a jackhammer, yeah.
Like a jackhammer on a piece of concrete, and break open that rock. And that's what he does, is he sends this water down there at high rates of speed and breaks open that rock, and then we'll put a plug on that, come back 200 feet, do that 200 feet, do that throughout the whole 6,000 feet, and then he'll stage after stage after stage. There will be 34, 35 stages on each well, and then he'll come out and produce the well. So that's what he's going to do, and we're going to do that next week. So that's really exciting. Can't wait to hear more about that. The Exxon Hammerhead project, Exxon, this has really told me a lot. Exxon is spending $6.8 billion on the Hammerhead offshore Guyana project. That's their 7th major development. They project this project to produce 150,000 barrels of oil per day by 2029, which this shows that the majors are doubling down on long-term oil despite energy transition. Okay, so people talk about oil and gas. Will there be oil and gas, oil and gas, oil and gas? Well, Exxon is spending $6.8 billion on their nickel to see if there's oil, and they need to see if there's oil there, and they're trying to look for 150,000 barrels a day. Also the
Kelly,
yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah, go. I was going to say, Kelly, what is your outlook on the current oil demand outlook in light of this long-term investment with ExxonMobil?
It's not going anywhere. Demand needs new technologies, all this AI, data centers, all this, just more and more power. Not just power either. All those equipment houses and buildings, they use petroleum byproducts and all the circuitry and all that. Oil's not going anywhere. Every day, lithium technologies and all that have come up, solar, wind, alternative energy focuses. They're all great, but they're all, for lack of a better term, fair weather operations. But when the sun don't shine and the wind don't blow, you've got to have oil at the end of the day. Just as a technological world, again, I'll refer back to my favorite article from about 25 years ago when I first started in the oil and gas. The iPod will save the oil field. It's not going anywhere. Our electricity needs, our petrochemical needs, our nonstop, our fuel needs. More and more cars being built, even though there's EVs and stuff. The volume of diesel and gas vehicles in the world it's not going down. So we've got growing. It's still climbing, our need for oil and gas. And in our lifetime, I don't see it any more than flattening out, but definitely not declining any.
Yeah.
Jay, when you're looking at the energy transition, it really, to me, doesn't really feel like a transition, but rather a transformation. But as an investor, did it seem quite appealing, even just 2 years ago, to look into investing in alternative energy? And if so, has your stance changed where we are now?
I mean, the best thing that we know is drilling for oil or natural gas, and I really wanted to go back in. I knew that AI was coming, and I knew that natural gas, it's like Kelly said, it's not going away. Now, does that mean that oil prices do not go up and down? Oil prices will go up and down. That's just, but they're not going to zero, right? So they're going to go up and down based on supply and demand. So what we did is moved into the Mid-Continent Basin, and we went into the Bivens project. Those two projects have an incredible amount of natural gas behind them, which means that we're not only concerned with the price of oil, price of natural gas, which was $1.50, $2 not long ago, it's sitting at $3. So
much more growth availability in gas, Jay, for sure. Much more growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot more upside there. Your LNG markets overseas are growing like no tomorrow. Cheniere just came back and said we're putting billions and billions of dollars in infrastructure so we can get more LNG. It's going to be amazing. So
that plant I sent you, Jay, this weekend that we were boating next to was the Cheniere plant right there on the state line.
Oh,
that was cool. That was the coolest. We were within a mile on a boat within the Cheniere plant. It's just the sheer size, the magnitude of the boats and the storage facilities. I grew up on the Gulf Coast my whole life and seen a lot of refineries in my life, but these LNG systems are just, it's unfathomable how big they are, so I can definitely see on the Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana, the growth and just, I mean, we saw at 4 o'clock in the morning, we saw lines of 200 cars pulling in these equipment, and they were parking in one place and busing. I saw 62 buses, like charter buses, taking these people into these plants. So it's a boost for local economies on the Gulf Coast. anywhere else are doing them, and you can just see the growth. We counted 27 temporary tower cranes at one facility. That's a lot of equipment going on in right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that's what Cheniere is. They're betting on they're buying gas from here for $3, selling it. It's selling for $9-10 over in Europe. So what they're doing is they're transporting all of the LNG from here over there, and they're going to spend a tremendous amount of money to upgrade their facilities to make sure that they can get more because they do want to transport it, and that's going to be really good for them. So that's good news.
AI, whenever you were talking about AI and seeing that was coming, and I mean, it's no secret, like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Gemini, you name it, Perplexity, whatever AI platform you want to use. Do you anticipate that AI and data centers are going to strain our natural gas supply in the U.S.?
I do. I see it. I see natural gas spiking because what's happening is we're seeing a good outlet for natural gas overseas by liquefying it, putting it on a ship, and sending it over LNG markets. That is a great. But also, I mean, you have NVIDIA just came in and said we're spending $100 billion. I mean, it's like all these different companies that are spending all this money on this. You're going to see a lot of need, and we're not going to have the supply. We're going to try to get the supply, but we're not going to have the supply, which is going to be really great for us, our partners on our COP3, because we have a lot of natural gas in our COP3 programs, and that's we're gonna drill it cheap, and we're going to not cheap, but we're going to drill it when it's $3, and we think that it's going to go to $5 to $6 pretty soon. So economics are 80% at $3. Imagine what they'll be at $5 to $6.
Do you anticipate us continuing to be the world's leading LNG exporter, even if this strain occurs?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think there's plenty of natural gas here in the United States. Louisiana has come out with some big plays. The Western Haynesville. I mean, there's a lot of these plays that are coming out right now that we have, and we can definitely with some more pipelines coming out of Permian Basin for that natural gas. There's a lot of natural gas that was flared off, and they were getting zero for it at one time. Kelly and I talked about that a couple of years ago. I mean, they were literally getting zero, not $1.50. Sometimes it's like a negative number. But
negative, there's a negative.
But if you wanted to sell your oil, if you wanted to sell your oil, you had to go somewhere with your gas, and if they wouldn't let you flare it, you had to sell it. And if you sold it, they would, and sometimes they made you sell it. You couldn't flare it forever, but they were having to sell it, and they were getting, negative numbers, which means that you were literally paying them to take it, which is not their fault. Nobody had an outlet for it. Nobody had an outlet for it, and you couldn't. You couldn't. There wasn't a market for it. If you don't have a market for it, then you're destined to get what you pay for. You're at their beck and call. So I like the natural gas market. I think it's really good. I think it's going to be really good for the United States. And I know drilling for natural gas is great because then you could, it's easy to drill for oil and gas wells. I'm sorry, natural gas wells than it is for oil. It's so much easier. You kind of, put a pipe together, you frack it, and then you send your pumper a turkey every year, and that's about it. An oil well is a lot different because you have a lot more moving parts, and Kelly's up 24/7 on wells, oil wells, because you have a pumping unit, or you have a motor, you have downhole motors, you have.
I like natural flow from gas wells for sure.
Yeah,
it makes life easier and operation cheaper.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, good. Let's see. Anything else that you want to talk about? With that fossil fuel finance push, I know that Trump's talking about the world banks and wanting banks to open up more for financing. Trump wants to continue, drilling in the United States, And he thinks, well, maybe the banks are closing down on, give them more money than they can spend, and maybe they'll continue drilling for oil and gas. And because, oil and gas companies aren't just out there drilling like Trump wanted them to with the Drill Baby Drill campaign, because if it makes sense, they'll do it. But they only want to do it if it makes sense. And there's been a lot of acquisitions here lately that I don't think made too much sense in the Permian, but people had to buy it because of the growth mode that they were in, and they had to do something. So they end up buying these companies, in my opinion, overpaying for them. And I hope that's what somebody does for us in a couple of years.
I was talking with some of my contacts at Chevron, and they were talking about how it seems like some of these super majors are potentially looking to merge together. And my thought is, because there's only so much acquisition that can happen in this space, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think it also goes back to ensuring that there's that you have multiple companies and the word is escaping me right now, but not a monopoly, to avoid a monopoly, right? And so originally there were only a few that owned or one that owned oil, and then broke off, right? And then we had a bunch of little companies.
I'll send you after this. It starts with Standard Oil, breaks out to the majors, and there's a theoretical chart where we get back to Standard Oil.
Oh, right, exactly. And that was what. Yes, please, yeah. And so when we're looking at that and looking at that consolidation, going back to what originally was, their thought is that it will consolidate to this and then break out again and then become small again. And then it will just become this cyclical nature that occurs. Now, how much truth there is to that, I'm unsure, but I did think that it was quite an intriguing thought to look at how much consolidation is occurring, and are we going to get back to that monopoly? Obviously there are safeguards in place, but how close will it get to that, and then what will come after?
Yeah, it's a good question, but I'll tell you what, I didn't know who's going to, you didn't ask anybody specifically. So,
Jay, what are your thoughts?
Hey,
Rachel,
well,
I feel like we need your input here, and Kelly, of course.
Yeah, I mean, this takes a little more. I mean, there's 100 private oil and gas producers that are generating upwards of 100 million or more a year in revenue. 100. Okay, so if you have that many companies generating that much revenue in oil and gas, you have it's going to be a lot before everybody says, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're for sale. It'll right. take a lot." So I understand what they're saying, and it's like, when Exxon and Mobil, that were two big transactions that happened, and there was one group that said, "Yeah, we don't want to take over and we want to be bought," but that takes so long, and I don't know. That's just I'd much rather talk about Rachel right now. We need to get to Rachel. I mean, there's just so many different things, rabbit holes you can go down and everything else. Let's talk about Rachel. Rachel,
I'm sure that's going to be a conspiracy theory one day, but let's go to something real and tangible.
Yeah, exactly. Rachel joined us a couple of months ago, and Rachel I've known for several years. She and her husband and kids went over to Kenya to do what? I mean, Rachel, I'm just going to leave it up to you. Just clue us in. Clue us in.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. Yeah, I was just actually talking to somebody about it today. We met in 2021, I believe it was, and we had actually just come back to visit for the holidays. So yeah, my husband and I, we've been married 19 years, and early on in our marriage, we really loved the Lord, and we were active in church, and we both had this real drawing to, be missionaries and go overseas and work with different churches and organizations and schools, and to, live our life over there. And I think that we had a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So that is what we did. We packed up and we were a part of a nonprofit organization. And so we went over there and we worked with a lot of amazing people and amazing churches and people groups, and were able to do lots of conferences, lots of outreaches, work with youth, work with young people, from everything from if it was about the gospel or even leadership and business skills, kind of a full gamut of, empowering their life. And we were just honored to do that for almost 15 years. So
Wow.
We definitely lived a strong, substantial part of our life overseas. And then, we had a transitional period where our kids were older, and our first one was heading to Arizona to college, and our other two teenagers, they were ready also for a change in life and pace and different things and opportunities. So we just felt like it was time to come back to the United States. And that's when you and me started talking, because we kept in contact. Actually, in 2021, you and me met at a event you guys were having through a common friend. And that person asked me actually to share with you guys. I think you were having a kind of a team weekend meetup or retreat.
Executive team meeting, executive team building.
Executive team meeting. And they asked me to share about what we did in Kenya. And I did that. And you guys were very welcoming and so kind to me and my family. And we had just got there. Literally, I think I had just got there that day, and I was so jet lagged and tired, but you guys were amazing. And you guys also, King Operating also donated to our organization, and that was very impactful for the decision also of viewing, how did I view King Operating and the mission behind this company. So that's a little bit about how I got into overseas missions, and it was just blessed to be able to travel all over and do that.
Well, you were just so adamant, and you believed, and you wanted to help. And when we met, and I met your mom and your family, and it was just like, man, you were onto something. And I really, I back people, man. I love people, and I love to back people and do anything I can to help. Obviously a great organization, and I've donated money before to organizations, and but I try to do some type of due diligence and find out who are you giving money to and what are they doing with it, type deal. But I had zero question after hearing you, speak the gospel, knowing what your heart was on exactly what you would do with that money, and it would be to great use. So my wife and I were very fortunate to be able to be in a position to help you. So that was great. I really, man, you were awesome in that. So I appreciate that.
When you talk about the mission that really spoke to you about King Operating and seeing their philanthropic investments, what really stood out to you specifically about King Operating's mission that made you ultimately decide to join the team?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So it was really, when you look at an organization, obviously you're going to look at the leader of that organization, and that is one of the most impactful things. So Jay was always very kind and responsive. And when I heard him talk about King, he always talked about partners. And in fact, there was a time where I visited after that and came by, and they gave me this book, which many of us know. It gave me a signed copy of this. And I listened. I love reading, but I will tell you, I really listened to the audiobook, and then I looked through this. I'm an audiobook person, so I love the audiobook. And what spoke to me in that book was his desire to put investors first. His desire to actually care about the investor having a positive outcome rather than just using them to move his business forward. And it was that approach of caring first about the investor and putting them number one that really spoke to me about this organization. And then, of course, knowing him in person added on to the fact that I've not only read about it, but I've seen it in action. I've seen him, put others first in action.
Kelly, when you're hearing Rachel talk about putting investors first and having that approach of the investor being the forefront of mind whenever you're coming up with all of your contingency plans or just working through all of the nuts and bolts of making this happen, how do you incorporate this mission of making sure that the investor is taken care of?
That's job one. Spent a lot of my life working in a larger corporate America, in some of the larger oil companies, in some of the biggest oil companies, where that was very much driven into us. I do it kind of at a sidebar. I do it with my mental focus on cost efficiency. So, and then therefore investor, benefit comes from that. So my goal, I put this time in. You saw me look away for a minute. I had a text come in from our guys that are headed out there right now. But getting plans together, spending our cheap effort ahead of time so that every dollar spent on location is as spent as wisely as possible, as quickly as possible, with as little downtime and or off plan time as there is, because that's burning So I personally can't. I didn't put the oil there, but I can find the way to get it out of the ground cheapest. So that's it. My driving narrative is to get the most effort for the least amount of dollars and time in.
Yeah.
Jay, when you're looking at your team and Rachel and Kelly and how they're approaching this and talking through all of this, how do you pick these people that not like obviously they share the same ethos as you, but also are so well versed in their approach to business? How do you find these people? Help entrepreneurs build their team.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you don't pick the first person that says yes, hey, I want a job, or whatever. It's find their skill sets, right? I mean, I didn't hire Kelly to look for oil. I helped him to get it out of the ground. And that's exactly what he said a minute ago. It's like geologists look for oil. They look for the oil, and Kelly says, okay, how much oil do you think you're going to have? And he can work the numbers with our finance guys to see, but he can also get it out of the ground and all that. So it's hard. And you don't hire the first person. You keep looking. And I'll tell you what, it's hard. It's hard to find good people that have your same values. And there's a tremendous amount of great people on this planet that need a job, that are finance people or geologists or business development. They are, but they just don't fit in with your culture, and they may not fit in because they don't want to come to the office ever, or they don't want to, they don't want to have lunch from 11:45 to 1:50. There's just so many different, dumbasses out there. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say.
When I met Jay, I was running a consulting firm, placing some engineers, but mostly field personnel, the guys out there, hard hats, boots, doing the work.
Yeah.
And I like technical professionals. And the owner of that company he'd been doing it 40 years, and he had a ratio, and it was for every one out of every 7 guys you bring in, you recruit, you find from a offset operator, you find from a service company, whatever. 1 in 7 was a keeper, was a long-term keeper. That's
Oh, wow.
little different office setting, but field personnel, a guy that would last you more than a year and a half, you would go through 6 guys before you found that 7th one on average. And I didn't, early in my career, I had a guy tell me that. I was like, man, that just seems too low of a number. 1/7 is pretty small. And then years later, when my name was on the wall of a consulting firm, I can definitely see it. 1 in 7. You have to go through some people. This industry's ever changing. It needs a balance of historical knowledge and modern techniques, and I think that's a big part of what we have to do is balance those 2 things.
Yeah. Well, there's people that have different ideas. They have different positions. They have kids. They have want to go to different schools. They have a wife that can pick them up, not pick up. I mean, it's like there's just so many different. There's a lot to find that, and so we've been open 30 years, I guess. We've been open 30 years, and so it's hard to find. It's hard to find good people, But once you do, you take care of them, And
yes, I think that's the biggest thing is like making sure that you take care of your team and allow if you have someone who's starting in an entry level position and allowing them to have that upward mobility if there is ambition and tenacity there, and then with the people who are in those senior positions, ensuring that they remain incentivized, but also feel valued within the work that they do and create that company culture that keeps those ethos alive that you have instilled within you and are within your team as well.
Yeah. Good. That's very good.
Well,
Okay.
Jay, is it time for your 5 things?
It's time for the 5 things. If I had a bell, I need a bell. I need a Kramer bell. We went to Rachel earlier. I should have. Went to Kelly.
Jay's 5 things.
Hey, 5 things. Let's talk about the five things. Let's start with the word of the week is courage, and the reason why I chose this is because of the book I'm reading right now. Bury Me in a Dirty Suit. Darren Kinder, that guy, that book is unbelievable. It's a Christian book, but it talks about he was in World Trade Center Building 7 when it went 9/11, and that 9/11 he went over to help, and he was talking about how dirty everything was, and he couldn't even see.
Yeah.
He couldn't even see, and it was so dark, and then all of a sudden, first tower went down, then the second tower went down, and they would go back in and try to help people and bring people out. It was incredible story. It's a minute-by-minute story about the events that happened, but also how it ties into Christianity. And it's really, really good, and it's a great book to read. And I'm not finished it yet, but I'm getting there, and I'll be finished in a couple of days. So I thought that was really, really great. Bible verse.
I think Charlie Kirk also totally represents the word of the week this week as well.
Courage, man. Talking about courage. I mean, that obviously was an incredible. You're exactly right, Jordan. I appreciate you saying that. That's great. I don't know if we have a hard stop at 4:00. If we do, we have a minute and 35. If we do, you better tell me.
Are you gonna knock it out? All right, Bible verse
no,
of the week, Jay.
No. We're not gonna knock it out. But if we need to shut off, somebody needs to tell me in my ear. Yeah, we got 5 more minutes or 10. Bible verse of the week. I'm going to choose. There was one in the book. With Bury Me in a Dirty Suit. That, but I tell you what, Laura reminded me today about Isaiah 6:8, and that's what Erica Kirk said about Charlie. Because it was so powerful, and it was Isaiah 6:8, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And that is so Charlie Kirk. Don't you think? Rachel? What do you think about that?
It's one of my favorite passages in the Bible. It's incredibly amazing to think about that scripture for Charlie, but for all of us, because God has a calling on all of our lives. God has a purpose on all of our lives, and God is sending us. It could just be to your neighbor's house, or it could be to a college, a college, but there's not a single child of God or a person that God has not ordained their path. And I think it's for all of us to say, send me.
Yeah. It's incredible. Unbelievable. And I also love his verse that his 2 favorite verses are Romans 8:18, but also this too will pass, which is, you could make a Bible scripture out of that one if you wanted to, but it's not necessarily one. But this too will pass, which I love, because everything will pass. It's not going to go, just have some decency, have a little pause, and you will get through it, and you will come out on the other end. It's not the end of the world, I guess, is what a lot of people think, and kind of what I think about that. What are you reading? Obviously, you know what I'm reading, about Bury Me in a Dirty Suit. Anybody else? Kelly, what are you reading right now? What's on your?
I'm reading a book by Jack Carr on Beirut and kind of the modern transition in the Middle East and how that turmoil still comes out. I think we're 42 years later now.
Wow. That's what I thought you'd be reading. That's what I was.
Usually it's fiction. This is actually he writes. He's the guy who wrote the Terminal List, popular TV show. But this is his first foray into nonfiction.
Oh, wow. Good. Very good. Jordan, what do you got?
Well, I'm reading this book called The 13th Step, and it's a physician who dives deep into the neurological reasoning behind people who struggle with addiction, and just a few chapters in, but it is quite interesting to see the addictive patterns and how your brain works through all of those tendencies that happen through addiction.
Huh. Wow. Incredible. I tell you, that's a great topic because there's a lot of things we need to have somebody on about addiction. I've had somebody on. It's been quite a few episodes ago, but talking about addiction because it is real. It is real, and I'm sober 30 years, and I was a terrible drunk in college but I was just wasted so much time and so many other people's time. God bless my parents for putting up with it.
And that book really talks about it. It really has a strong emphasis on alcoholism and just how people are operating through that or not able to really operate through that. So it is a really good book. I'll send it over once I'm done.
Yeah, please do. And I'm gonna also say that another great book if you want to for self-help is, and this you don't have to have an addiction for this one. Or you don't have to be a Beirut or listen to. Anyway, this Never Eat Alone. I love that. That title is unbelievable. Never Eat Alone. Kelly Duncan is the best at this. He gets more free meals a year than, I don't know. I'm able to get vendors.
We're spending my business.
Yeah, we're spending $100 million a year.
Sorry, boss. Got to go for lunch.
Yeah, lunch, dinner, breakfast. He has more people bring food in and all that. Well, we spend $100 million a year in the field. Man, I tell you what, you get some free meals. And Kelly is
he likes on location steaks. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man! I tell you, Kelly. Yeah, if I go, hey, I'm coming out to the field, Kelly goes, I got you, brother, and he'll have some steaks that are this thick out there, and I mean it's just unbelievable. But but anyway, he wants to come down and come to the field. Please come because it allows me to go out there and eat the best steaks in the world, and they're unbelievable. But anyway, what are you watching? Anybody watching anything noteworthy? Anything? I was into
Just
the Dallas Cowboys. You know the Netflix. I have not finished that. I was going to try to finish it the other day because Michelle says that she doesn't want to watch it, so I'm going to be watching that one alone. But then there's this new thing about Charlie Sheen on Netflix, and I don't know if
I did see that. That looks really good.
I know that. Thought a time waster. I'm not sure if you're gonna learn anything about that. Well, you will. You'll learn a lot.
Well, he talks about his addiction, and he talks about the people around him and how they had to work through his addiction and the measures that they went through. And so, I think if anything, you could probably learn about the dynamics of that.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of the first of it, and then Michelle said, no, don't watch it. I'm going to watch it with you. And I'm like, okay, well, gotta. But I watched a little bit of.
Happy wife, happy life.
Absolutely. 100%. And it does talk a lot about addiction because those kids did drugs early in Malibu and all that. And that's just the way life was, the way life is, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
crack is whack.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Yeah. What are you listening to? We're putting the Jay Young Show on satellite radio in the next 30 days. I'm hoping to the next week.
Like Sirius XM?
Or 2 weeks. Yeah, XM. Yeah, Sirius XM, satellite radio. It's going to start going on there. Dallas. I'm going to start off with Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. But we're going to put the Jay Young Show on, and it's going to be on pretty soon, so you can start listening to the Jay Young Show on that. So I don't know how that works. It's going to be on YouTube, all the things that we do now, but it's also I'm going to put it on the radio because I really feel like that I want to syndicate the Jay Young Show all across America. I want to get really big with it, and I feel like this is a good way to start it. And we're talking to some people about that right now. So
if you build it, they will come. That's
absolutely,
the saying, right?
100%. Well, we got a recap, and we're 5 minutes past, actually 6 minutes past right now. But let's do the call to action. We have an oil and gas weekly rundown live every Wednesday at 2:00. So at 2:00 every Wednesday, me, Rachel, Kelly, Central Time, we go on. It's on LinkedIn. It's on my LinkedIn, Jay Young's LinkedIn, and also it's on YouTube. But you can go in. We have questions already that we have backed up that we're going to answer questions on Wednesday at 2:00. But also, please do subscribe to us on sign up, subscribe to me on on social media, on X, or anything else you see, and let's get this thing going. And just like Charlie Kirk would say, what did he say? Buckle up. Buckle up, here we go, or something. Or let me see. I got it right here in my notes. My God is good folder. My Charlie Kirk. He says, buckle up, here we go. So I'm not gonna steal that from him as tagline, but I love that, and I know we did a lot of talk today about Charlie Kirk, and appreciate everybody coming here today and listening. And until next week, thank you very much for showing up, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you back here next week. Thank you.